Let's just go ahead and start. Pulido and I, wanted to talk today about credit reports. Credit reports and processing, more or less. We're going to spend a little bit of time during the credit reports, and then we go into processing a little bit. In the credit reports, we're going to talk about different subjects. Let's just start with one and just let's kick with this. When you run a credit report, at the end of the credit report, it shows the inquiries in the last 120 days. So the inquiries on this client that another companies have obviously inquiry. The most common question about a client when the client shows up at your office and says, "Hey, are you going to run my credit report? Is it going to affect my credit score?" What my answer to the clients is, what is the credit report for? So if it's not to check your credit, and what is it for? So checking your credit is not going to affect you. Checking your credit is not going to affect you. What is it for? It's to be checked. It's to be checked. That's the reason for it. So logically, when a client comes and shows to my office, "Oh, they run my credit because it's going to affect my score." No, it's not. I mean, as long as you haven't run it like crazy everywhere, it's not going to affect your credit score. So there's two reasons why it can affect your credit score. One, loss of identity. That's how it's called. Identity theft. That somebody took your social security and is applying everywhere. And since they're applying anywhere, then the creditor says, "Hold on a second, this guy is getting too much into debt. Let's put a pause and let's reduce his credit score." The second one is if you are getting into debt too much. I mean, I remember when in my college years, I mean, they even though that it was in Mexico, they started approaching me, giving me credit. So if I started getting credit everywhere and here, there, then I'm getting into debt, and then eventually I'm not going to be able to afford the payments, and my credit can drop. So that's the purpose of this. But if you check your credit score with one company and then another company with different, it's not going to affect your credit score. That's what it's for. That's what it's for, so it's not going to affect you. Now, we as a lender, we do require a letter for all the inquiries that has happened in the last 120 days. Okay, so in this specific client, he has run the credits. I mean, if it's in the same date, obviously it's the same company. So for this specific, I cannot make it a little bit bigger right now, but for this specific client, I just re-ran his credit, but I ran it on February 27. So February 27, there's 3 credit inquiries. Why there's 3 credit inquiries? Because it's 3 different bureaus. So depending on how the bureau has it set up, one bureau has us as Campos Financial Corp. Another one has us as your loan in the valley. Go figure. Another one it has us as Funding Suite. So that's how you see the credit inquiries. When I address the credit inquiries, I'm going to show you how I address the credit inquiries. But I just say, okay, I was applying for this company, and this other company is the same. This other company is the same as this company. So thank you, Dawson. So that's how I deal with the credit inquiries. Now, there's a lot of companies, and the reason that we wanted to talk about credit is because of this. There's a lot of companies that fix credits. And if you go to a company and you're going to fix a credit, I mean, this 4 inquiries is the same company. 27, February 27, and it's your loan in the valley, Campos, Cavios, and Funding Suite. We're the same company. So that's only 1 inquiry. But if you're going to hire somebody to fix a credit, I mean, obviously there's some of them that are very legit, and some of them that are flaky. And the flaky ones are going to tell you, "Well, Dulce, you have too much credit inquiries, and that's why your credit score is low. So we have to remove the credit inquiries." And you can dispute credit inquiries with the credit company. So there's a lot of people that fix credit that's what they suggest the people to do. So if they suggest Dulce, you can call the credit company and you can tell them, hey, I didn't apply for this credit, so take it off my credit report. But if Dulce does that, then guess what? The credit company is going to come to Maria, and the credit company is going to say, Maria, Dulce is disputing that Dulce never applied for a loan. So where is your authorization? Because we need to prove to Dulce whether Dulce is right or Dulce in fact applied for a loan. Now, if Maria cannot produce any documentation that Dulce applied for a loan, the user and password for Maria can be revoked. The user and password for Maria can be revoked. It doesn't happen often, but it does happen. It doesn't happen often, but it does happen. There's a lot of situations where, in the case of Maria, your ex-husband, Dulce, I'm sorry, your ex-husband's name is? Melcom. So there's situations that I'm pretty sure that you have encountered where Dulce applies for a loan, and then Dulce, the income is halfway there, and then Dulce says, well, here's my information for my husband. I'm not living with him anymore, but here's Melcom. And probably Melcom talked to Dulce and says, yeah, I'll help you or anything, but we never saw Melcom. So it could be that in the future, and that's the most common thing that happens, that Melcom disputes the inquiry. And then Melcom says, I never applied, even though the Melcom applied through Dulce. If you don't have any information from Melcom, that in fact he applied for a loan, your user and password can get revoked. And they get pretty nasty. It's not something that you will say, well, Oscar, it hasn't happened, so you probably BSing. No. They do get very, very nasty. Maria?
Actually, it happens to me. Where they come, a couple apply for a mortgage loan, and then months later, maybe a year later, I receive an email from Funding Suite saying that the client said they never applied, they were disputing, and I ignored that email because I said, I didn't even pay attention to that email. So when I received the second email, it was like they're going to remove me from Funding Suite, and then an attorney was going to contact me. They were very, very aggressive. So that's when I respond. I didn't have the authorization, sign it, but I provide with driver's license, taxes, pay stubs, and the estimate that I give them because I always get them signed when I pre-call people. And basically they were here, they signed it, this is the documentation, and they said, okay, that's fine. But I did get it.
It sometimes, so everybody heard Maria, right? So the first time Maria ignored the email because she said, it's just an email. I mean, how many credit inquiries do we run in a day? In the case of Maria, in the case of Jorge, they run a lot of credits. So I've been running a lot of credits all my life. I get an inquiry from the credit company, screw them. Is the credit company, it's not the credit bureaus. No, the credit company gets very upset if you return an email. And you cannot imagine how upset they get. So much upset that they involve Sarah and they involve me. And now they take it up a notch and says, hey, if this is going to happen a lot, probably we can revoke the user and password for the whole company. The first thing is Maria, but if Maria is not answering, then it's your responsibility to have Maria answer. In this case, Maria answered, and yes, so it can be very difficult to get the credit authorization signed. It can be very difficult because you get clients on the internet, you get clients on the phone, you get clients on that. But in the case of Maria, if Maria has the ID, if Maria has the taxes, well, it's obvious that he applied for a loan. Otherwise, how am I going to get the ID and the taxes? And that's cool, but you need to answer. If you don't answer, I mean, they can take it up a notch.
Another thing that we have to be careful, and we take that one very, very seriously, Oscar, especially with the co-signers, they're married, and the wife or husband doesn't want you to do with anything, but you still have to run the credit. If that authorization, I do have to get it in writing, because it's just that wife or the co-signer. If I don't get it, I don't run credit.
Yeah, so in the case that Maria is talking about, she's talking about an FHA loan. On an FHA loan, you have to run the credit for the husband and the wife. And just happens to be that the spouse doesn't have any income, but still we have to run the credit. So when we run the credit of the spouse can get very mad. they can get very mad. So try to get the authorization, try to get it uploaded into the system as soon as possible. As soon as possible, because if you don't have that, it can get elevated fast. And again, we had a situation with a loan officer. I mean, we had situations, obviously Maria had a situation, recently we had another situation with another loan officer. In the past, I remember a client that we actually called the client. And we said, hey, I mean, in other words, excuse my French, but what the heck? What the heck, dude? You applied for a mortgage loan, and specifically the client told us, oh, sorry, I was with a company that was trying to fix my credit, and the company suggested that I dispute my inquiries. So that's what I did. I said, no, dude, I mean, you're throwing me under the fire here, because you did apply for a loan, and now they're saying that I'm lying. So beware of those things. Try to answer, try the communication, be there. If you don't answer, then it's when it gets elevated. Any questions, comments? No? So, how do I address, obviously, the credit inquiries? On the credit inquiries, I just go to here and I go to inquiries. So this is all the inquiries for this client. On your approvals, every single approval, FHA conventional, even the non-QM, they're going to ask you for a letter of explanation for all the inquiries. When I do my disclosures, me personally, I have always shared this with you guys, I like to do my disclosures a wet signature. I like to meet with my clients and I like to sign them face to face. Some of you like to do the disclosures e-sign, that's fine. It's your choice. But me personally, when I do the wet signatures on my disclosures, I do get the letters of explanations before they even ask me, before the underwriter asks me. Now, you can get upset because when you get the approval, you probably will get the approval with the condition, even though they already uploaded the credit inquiries. The reason being is because the credit inquiries is a condition of the processor. It's not a condition of the underwriter. So the underwriter will only put it on their approval, even though that it's already on the file, but the processor is the one that is going to sign it off. And the processor, so you will always see it on your approval, but the processor will sign it off. On my approvals, I don't even care anymore because I already have it, boom, this condition is done, this condition is done. In these cases, for example, your loan in the Valley, Campos Financial, your loan in the Valley, we don't have to explain, in this specific case, we don't have to explain Campos Financial. Campos Financial is us, so we don't have to explain it. But if this was another company, I will say, well, I was trying to apply for a loan, I was trying to get my best mortgage rate and my best mortgage program, but I didn't decide to go with them. And then on the other ones, I said, this is the same as Campos Financial, this is the same as Campos Financial, this is the same as Campos Financial, and call it a day. When you look at Bank of America, Logix, when you look at Bank of America and Logix, if I'm doing my letter of explanation, now, sometimes I answer this and I say, well, I didn't go with this, and I already put it there. But Bank of America and Logix, I don't answer, I let the client answer. I mean, I want to get the information from the client. Now, what I do, most of the times on my files, I go to the credit report. And I go to the credit report, and this inquiry for Bank of America was in February. This inquiry from Logix is in February also. So I go into the credit report, and I look if for whatever reason, the client opened an account with Bank of America in February, and if you already opened an account with Logix in February or March. Now, if the guy already opened an account, because I do check on my credit, if you're not doing this, you're a bad loan officer. So I go into my credit report, am I going to tell them the inquiry, oh, I was checking just to get a discount, but I didn't get any credit? The underwriter is going to say, what do you mean you didn't get any credit? It's already showing on your credit report. It's already showing on your credit report. So don't tell me that you didn't apply for any credit when it's already showing on your credit report. So make sure that if you're going to answer, I just applied to get a discount, but I never got any credit, then that's the truth. Don't answer just because you want to answer. Don't answer because you want to answer. In this scenario, I'd say, hey, I applied for a vehicle, and it's already showing on my credit report. I refinanced my vehicle under Logix, and it's already showing on my credit report. Now it's already showing on my credit report, that's it, call it a day. It's already on your credit report. Make sense? But do that. The same thing that I do is with the addresses. The addresses is the same thing. So where has this client lived in the last 2 years? The address information. Now, if I ask my client, my client told me that he's been living in this address, Heartland, with his mom for the last 9 years. Now, if you go to the credit inquiries, we only care, or let me put it this way, Field only cares about the last 2 years. So the address is Heartland. It's showing an address on Penfield, and it's showing an address in March of 24. This address, Penfield, I have to address. If you're telling me that you're living on Heartland, why is this address showing on your credit report? Why does it matter? Dulce, do you know why it doesn't matter? Say that again?
No, I don't know.
Huh?
Because it shows like he's currently living on Penfield.
Why does it matter?
Because we told him that he lives in Heartland. So it's like he lives in two addresses.
Now, but why does it matter? Why is it, if you say, well, I don't live in Penfield, well, why did it show on your credit? If you don't live in Penfield, what is that address? Why does it show on your credit? It matters. I don't know if you guys have noticed this or not. I made the mistake of naming my child, I always say this example, naming my child Oscar, and for whatever reason, I even named them the same middle initial, A. Campos. Oscar A. Campos. So when he runs his credit report, if it's Oscar A. Campos and his social security and the same address as mine, my credit is going to show on his credit. It's going to get mixed. Because it's going to say, well, Oscar A. Campos and Oscar A. Campos, different social security, but same address, probably is the same Oscar. Boom. There's going to be some accounts that are the same. There's going to be some accounts that are mine showing on his credit. Now, if he runs his credit report as Oscar A. Campos, his social security, his date of birth, and now his address, now there's two variables that are different from mine. So date of birth also is different from mine. Now it takes out some of my accounts off. Now, on the credit addresses, when you told me that you live on Heartland, what is this one? What we want to know is if your credit is reported correctly. So when you answer, hey, this is an address from a family member, and I believe I inquired one time, but I never have any credit mailed to my account. All the credit report is showing correctly. Every information on my credit report is showing correctly, we call it a day. But that's the reason, because if you leave it on another address, then you can mix with another person. Or is it another person? Is your credit reported correctly? That's what we want to know.
Question. So what happens if the client says, I don't know what this address, like I have no idea what is showing there?
Then that's what we put. I don't know, but this is what I do. I don't know about this address. To be honest, I don't recognize it. But all of my credit report that I see, all the trade lines are reported correctly. Because if you say, I don't know, well, is the information on your credit report reported correctly or not? I do this to letters, and we only care about the last 2 years. Because we only care about the last 2 years. So David, Penfield, 2024, Heartland, we don't care. Penfield, 2024, that is the same Penfield, so I just addressed Penfield, and Heartland. I just addressed the address of Penfield. What's up with this address? Tell me what's the problem. I do it on my disclosures, I have it signed, I don't worry about it on my approval. I don't worry about it on my approval. So I just do this. For those who haven't done it, I just do this. This is my dad's address, generate, and it gives me the letter. I just get it signed. Any questions, comments? If you go to order, and there's a pre-qual credit report here. Pre-qual credit report. If you go to order pre-qual credit report, if you don't have this option, you need to talk either to Sarah or to Monica. And Sarah or Monica will give you the access to that pre-qual credit report. Now the pre-qual credit report is the one that we have talked in the past, that it doesn't generate a hit on your inquiries. It doesn't generate a hit on your inquiries. So the purpose is two ways. One, it doesn't generate a harsh inquiry. It's what they call a soft inquiry. And second, people from other companies are not going to call the client. People from other companies are not going to call the client because it's not a hard credit check. So I do this a lot, the pre-qual credit report. Obviously, if it goes into escrow, then I have a pre-qual and then I have a credit report. I have a pre-qual and a credit report, so I have to run twice. I hit twice with the ding. But if it's only a pre-qual report and he doesn't qualify, then he doesn't qualify. I just reply to the client, he doesn't qualify, that's it. Now, some of you, I'm assuming also, some of you don't have access to this screen. I'm going into the funding suite screen, whatever it's called, Covio's funding suite screen directly. Sometimes I work in this screen a lot, and sometimes I just run the credits from the system. So I'm qualifying a client and I run the credit from the system. Now the pre-qual report is available and it's supposed to be less expensive. I believe Dulce told me that it was showing us the same cost. Another thing that we have to check with Sarah, it was you, right, Dulce?
Yes, it was me, but it's not the same cost. It's like 45, I think, and the actual credit is like 65 right now. So it's just a little difference.
Okay.
Almost the same.
They told us that it was going to be about $5 at the beginning or $15. So we'll check that. So because they told us that the difference in cost, it was very different. So if you don't have access to going to this site, let me tell you one thing, you all have access. You all should have access, and Monica can attend to that. You all have access, but some of us just use Meridian. Since we use Meridian and the user and password is on Meridian already set up as default, maybe you don't know how to get into this site, and maybe you don't know your user and password. If in the case that you don't know your user and password, just call Monica. Monica, what's my user and password? Do we need to reset it? XYZ, and you will get access. You will get access. Second thing, on this client, on this particular client, if I run a pre-qual, which in this particular client I did, give me 1 second, sorry.
Is the keyboard on?
Huh?
Is the keyboard on?
Okay. So, okay, thank you, Wilson. So in this particular client, I ran a pre-qual in February 23rd. Then it became serious. Now when it became serious, they wrote an offer. So as they were writing an offer, I had to make sure that the credit report is the same as the pre-qual. So I ran the credit report in 227. Their offer didn't get accepted. Now they're writing another offer. And just to make sure, since it's already 3 months into the transaction, I ran another credit report. Now, if I have a pre-qual, which is this one, For those who haven't seen the pre-qual credit report, it's very similar. So this is the pre-qual. The only difference that you will see is that you cannot run the U on this one, and on the top, it reads pre-qual credit report. Pre-qual credit report. But you cannot run the U on this one. So,
Oscar,
yes,
how about for the non-QM? If they don't need to run DU, they accept this one?
I'm pretty sure that if they see pre-qual credit report, they will ask you for a normal credit report. Because a pre-qual credit report is something familiar. I mean, if I try to put an analogy, something like Credit Karma or something like that, that is a model that it gives you the results, but it's not actually the credit report. So eventually they will ask for the formal credit report. Now, if I go back to this one, I can go to this credit tools, and I just say order credit report, and I order the credit report for my pre-qual. So I ran my pre-qual, now I need to run the credit report. I don't need to fill any information. I just go to this credit tools, and order credit report. As I do this, then it gives me the credit report. Questions?
When you run that pre-qual and then you go back and run that credit report, it was the same FICO, so it was a change?
In this specific case, it can change. I believe that it was the same. So this is 692 in the pre-qual, and then in February, it dropped a little bit now, but in February, which it was 3 days after, I believe it was very similar to 692. So let's just look at it. 608, 70, 1236. And this is the credit report for February. And it was 692, so it was the same. Any questions, Zoomers? No? Okay, so let me show you again this credit report. 608, 70, 1236. Now, there's some things that the processor can help you with. And if you ask them, if you have already the credit report and everything, the processors, whether it's Alex or Adriana, they will gladly help you. They will gladly help you. What bothers the processor is if you're going to ask the processor to do a rescore or a supplement on a credit that you don't have. So we run into some loan officers that they say, hey, Adriana, can you help me this? I need to fix the credit and everything, blah, 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 and the credit. You can imagine what loan officer is? If I'm just talking gibberish? So do this and do this and do that and do that. Okay, what's the credit report? Oh, I haven't run it. What do you mean you haven't run it? So how do you know all of this? Oh, because the client told me. But we haven't seen the credit report, so run the credit. No, why don't you run it? I'm having problems, blah, 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 blah. Guys, that's when you get the processor frustrated, and that's when you say, well, the processor is bad, or the Adriana or Alex, because they don't help me. You gotta give them something. If you already have the credit report and you need a supplement, let me show you this credit report. On this credit report, on this specific credit report, there's a Logix account. There's a Bank of America account with a payment of $1,200, open in February, and then there's a Logix account, open in March, with a payment of $1,000. So now I have two vehicles that just happen to be on this very soon for $1,000. The first thing that came to my mind is, hey, real estate agent, do me a favor. Can you call the client and can you ask him if he was refinanced the vehicle? It doesn't make sense that the client got two vehicles for $1,000 payment. So what I'm thinking is that the guy had the vehicle out of the dealership of Bank of America, and then he went to Logix and refinanced the vehicle for a lower payment. But can you confirm? So the realtor confirmed, yes, that's what happened. Now I need to supplement this account. I need to take it off supplement that is paid off. So you can do so by going into the trade lines here on this icon, trade lines, and then you have Bank of America and you have Logix, and then you can right click on your mouse and it says order verification, order CD resolved. Verification is a supplement. Verification is a supplement. CD resolve is a rescore. The rescore, for whatever reason, the companies have gone very strict on it, so it's very hard to get a rescore. But if I order a verification, then I can order a verification and I can tell, hey, this next payment due balance, can you update the balance because it's at 0? This was refinanced, and you just order, and that's it. Now you can do it yourself, or you can ask the processor. You can do it yourself, or you can ask the processor. But if you ask the processor, please, please, at least give him my credit. At least give him my credit. Don't take too much time. I have this other client that, for whatever reason, I quoted a file. I quoted them a rate over the weekend, and I got an excellent rate over the weekend, even though the client had a FICO of 612. But during the weekend, I even got a rebate, and it was a transaction of $800,000. If I get a rebate at one point, I was settled. But then I show up on Monday, the rates went to shit. Now I'm not going to get paid anything. So I call the client and I say, do me a favor. You need to pay down the accounts. You need to pay down the accounts. The client even got mad at me because I was giving them a higher interest rate than what I was just quoted them 2 months ago. So here's a co-borrower. She owes $5,000. The balance is, she gets a credit of $5,000. The balance is $3,000. A credit of $29,000. She owes $24,000. Co-borrower a credit of $1,500, $1,300. So I said, can you lower those balances? If you can lower those balances, your credit is going to go up. When it goes up, I quote you again and see where we stand. But I'll promise you that I will do the best for you. I'll promise you. But you need to help me on your end. Lower the balances. If the client lowers the balances, then question for Luis Mariscal if he's awake. If she lowers the balances, then do I do a supplement or do I do a rescore? A rescore, Mariscal. Of course, a rescore, because I need the score to go up. It's not a supplement. A supplement is when you're trying to feel that an account is paid. I don't need to mess with the credit report. I don't need to mess with the credit score. I'm already settled. The interest rate is locked. I just need to prove that this vehicle is paid off. I do a supplement. In this case, I need to increase the credit score. If I need to increase the credit score, then I need to do a CD resolve. So I go to the American Express, right-hand click on the mouse and go order CD resolve. You see that the screen is a little bit different. Last time it was blue, this one is green. Do you want to order the CD resolve for all the credit bureaus? If one of the credit bureaus is already at 650, they're going to charge me for each credit bureau. They will charge me for each credit bureau. So if one of the credit bureaus is already at 650 or 660, and I don't need it to be changed, I just need to be changed the 620s and the 610s, I just select the credit bureaus for the 610 and the 620. Makes sense? Makes sense? So in this case, let me see the scores of the client. The co-borrower is 580, 612, 646. Maybe TransUnion I don't care about. TransUnion is already at the 646. I only care about Equifax and Experian. Because the more bureaus that I choose, the more expensive that it will get. Do the risk score. Okay? Any questions on how this gets done?
I have a question. When the client pays the debt and we wanna do a risk score, how, do we need to wait how long, like, for the company to let the bureaus know or?
I asked the client, as long as it's showing on your account a new balance, then I'll go ahead and order. So it could be for whatever reason, that sometimes it's very proactive, the credit company, and sometimes they're not. But it could be that you submitted your payment today. Hey, I just sent my payment today, okay, let me do the rescore. Then they call today, the credit company is not gonna show the new balance because it hasn't been processed the check. So I just wait 1 day, 2 days, and I tell the client, hey, just check on your account that you already have a new balance. You already have a new balance? Okay, I go ahead and order. If it's 1 day or 2 days after, then boom, I go ahead and order. Then I go ahead and order with no documentation. No documentation, I don't have to provide a new balance. But if the client provides me with the documentation with a new balance, then the credit companies become a pain in the you know what? Because they say, well, it's not showing the same account number, it's not showing the name of the client, it's not showing blah, it's not showing. So it's better if you just process with no documentation. Process with no documentation, check my balance.
Call verification.
So you click on the over?
Yes, if I process with no documentation, it's a little bit more expensive. But the credit companies do become very strict if you upload a bank statement. If you have a statement and it's a formal statement with all the account, with the balance, with the name of the client, then they will use it. But if there's any difference, then they will say, well, they didn't match this. Questions, comments? Okay.
Do you know how many points will go up for account?
How many points will go up for account?
Yeah, let's say you just made one credit resolve in one account. Do you know how many points will go up?
No, I don't. There's the model that you can run to see if I pay this account, how much would you project to go up?
That's
Now, it's,
sorry, does Funding Suite charges us to do that, the
Yes.
projection?
yes,
Okay.
yes. Now, the projection is not always 100% bulletproof because the projection is projecting on the current credit report. So you have a credit report right now, and with this credit report, then I'm going to say, well, how about this projection if I pay this account? Well, with this credit report, if you pay this account, then it will go X amount of points. But if the client, you wait 2 months, the client pays the account, you do a rescore, then this credit, it expired already, you have more accounts, and probably the client got in debt in other accounts. So it doesn't work 100%. It's a good way of trying to know what the amount is going to be, but it's not 100% bulletproof. To do the inquiries, if you have access, if you don't have access, ask Sarah or ask Monica. Monica takes care of the user and password. Monica takes care of the user and password. I believe that Monica is in the meeting, so Monica can help you with the user and password. As far as the access, I don't know if Monica has the access of everything or if it's Sarah. Or you can come to me. And we will provide you access with everything. So if this one, it says, well, it can go up 67 points. This one, it can go up to 52 points. This one, it can go up to 59 points. If I go to trade lines, I believe if I go to trade lines, give me 1 second to see where the models are. So if I click on the first icon, which is trade line summary, if I lower my screen, it says credit proofreading and rescoring. So now it's saying, hey, for Marvin and for Carol, if Experian, if it's a 612, it can go up 52 points. I can ask him, hey, give me the wayfinder to get the 52 points. I need the 52 points. You told me that it can go up 52 points. Give me the wayfinder and show me what I need to do. It's going to give you a report that is going to tell you, pay this, pay that, pay that. Now, if I go to the what if simulator, the what if simulator is going to show me my trade lines, and on the trade lines I say, what if I pay this account? Just this account. How many points? And then it tells you how many points is going to do. Questions, comments?
Well, like you said, it's not bulletproof. I did it once. I did everything they say. I paid a lot of money and
Yeah, so Maria is saying I have done it once. I have the experience that it has worked, and I have the experience that it hasn't worked. The experience that Maria has is that it hasn't worked, and the reason that they say is like, hey, cut me a slack. That I'm projecting the credit as it was in February. I don't know about April right now. So that's their excuse. Questions, consumers? Anything? No? There you go. Okay, so that is in regards to the credit reports. Now, when you have a credit report, this comes very often. When you have a credit report, let's just pretend that I can remove Carol. If I can remove Carol and remove this score because the husband has 700 and the income of Carol I don't need, so I can go into the tool icon. So the tool icon, and it has order a credit report. Let's just pretend that I ran a credit report and this credit report was from December, so I just use it and order a new one if I need to. I can change the file owner. Now, change the file owner, I do this, for example, I went into vacation last week, not last week, the week prior last week, how many days you took? So since I went into vacation, I asked Ademar and I asked Juan Rodriguez, hey, can you help me with some files? If for whatever reason I ask Ademar to help me with one of the files that I already ran the credit report, then Ademar is not going to have access to the credit report. So I can go here and I can say, hey, change the file owner. And I'm going to change the file owner for Ademar.
And I don't exist.
You don't exist. Do you run Funding Suite or not?
No, I don't.
You don't have Funding Suite. So Dulce. So Dulce is going to run. So I change it. The credit report is assigned to my name. Since it's assigned to my name, I only have access to my credit report. You guys cannot see my credit report. The only people that can see every credit report is myself, Adriana, Monica, and Pulido, because they help everybody, and obviously operations, they have access to all the credit reports. But you guys, you only have access to your credit reports. So if I ask Dulce, can you help me with this client? And then Dulce needs to make the application, and Dulce needs to obviously access the credit report. I need to assign it, and I assign it to Dulce. Now Dulce is the owner of that credit report.
No longer you cannot see it anymore.
That's correct.
I have to change back.
No cost to you. No cost to you, and you can see it now. Now, since I have access to everything, you don't have to change it to my name again, because I have access to everyone. But in your case, I have to assign it to you. If for whatever reason, Ademar helped me with a client, and Ademar ran a credit report, and then I came back from vacation, and Ademar, very, very obviously on his part, very good on his part, he told me, hey, Oscar, I can give you all the information from the client. I can give you all the access, I can give you everything, so you can take over. I said, no, Ademar, that's your lead. But if Ademar wanted to give me access to the client, then Ademar assigns the credit to my name, now I have access to all the client. Make sense? Right. So that's one of the things that you can do here. Also on the credit tools, you can add to file. So if I ran the credit with just one of the spouses, and I need to add the other spouse, you can add the other spouse here. Now you can add it by running the credit. So in the case that Dulce is married to Peter, and we ran the credit for Dulce, and now Peter was out, then I can just put the information of Peter, add it to Dulce, and boom. Now, that is very different. That's very different. Before Gonzalo kicks into the conversation, That's very different. If I run the credit of Dulce, if I run the credit of Peter, I cannot add them together. Cannot do that. So if I have Dulce and I have Peter, I cannot combine them together unless I run another credit report. Unless I run another credit. But what I can do is I ran Dulce's. Now I want to add Peter's, and I just add a Peter to the. So I run his credit. And Dulce's credit bureaus will not get affected. Credit
You
scores.
could merge two credit reports. My husband and wife, I thought.
You cannot merge the credit reports. You cannot merge the credit reports. Any questions, comments? Am I lying? No? Okay, so we continue. One thing that I use a lot is, instead of adding to file, is a split file. This is a credit report with both of them. So let's just say that I don't want to on the loan because Carol has bad credit. So I just split the file and I just remove Carol and I keep Marvin and I split the file. If I split the file, it's going to give me another credit number, another file number, and that's the file number that I use on my system. And I believe it doesn't incur any cost on this one. Employment verification, add a trade line. Add a trade line is when they ask you to add a trade line. Now, sometimes I believe that if you add a trade line, we will have to ask a processor. Sometimes we want to add a trade line just for the supplement reasons of it. I believe that adding a trade line to this credit report is only going to add the trade line, but it's not going to affect your credit score. Now, it could be that they ask you for alternative credit lines. If they're asking you for alternative credit lines, you can add them through here. But Maria does this a lot. I believe so. So Maria has a client and says, hey, your credit is not to par because you don't have too much credit history. And then the client tells Maria, you know what? As a matter of fact, I do have credit history. I'm subscribed to a credit card that my wife owns and everything. And Maria says, well, bring me the statement. And if the statement is showing your name, then probably we can do a rescore. That statement is not to the trade line here. That statement is through another rescore process that Maria does. Right, Maria? Maria is nodding the yes. I'm not lying.
I'm sorry, also you add a trade line when you said I just bought a car and it's not showing on the credit report. But you want to be proactive and put it on the credit so when they underwrite it, they give you the right approval.
So what Maria is saying is that you just bought a car, it's not showing on your credit report. The underwriter is going to ask you, hey, you need to add it to your credit report. You add the trade line of that credit report, and that's it. But it doesn't affect your credit score. If you want it to affect your credit score, because you want the client to have more history, that's a different process. Questions, comments? No? Before we leave, probably that's all that I wanted to talk about in the credits.
I can add a little bit more?
Yeah.
Okay. Also, the split can be used when you made a mistake and put the wrong, you misspelled the name, the address, the city, and it has to be corrected. Instead of running a new credit report, you call the funding suite, you ask for the correction, and you split the file. Have a small cost, probably like $5, or even change the full address. Let's say you put the wrong address and you had to change it to the new address. As long as it shows already on your addresses list, they can change it. If it's not there, they cannot change it. I don't remove initials. If it already shows on the credit report, they can do everything that is already showing, nothing new.
So, that's excellent information that Maria just told me. I actually had it to talk about, but I completely forgot, but it's excellent information. Two things totally separate. You have this credit report, and let's just pretend the first one that we were going to do, I think it was David. David is the guy with Penfield address. So let me just go back to David here. And David is my guy with a Penfield address. So in this case, I ran the credit with Heartland address. And if you remember, we talked about it at the beginning of the meeting, that it was showing a Penfield address also. If I call the client and I say, hey, well, what's with this Penfield address? And he can say, well, that's where I live, Oscar. I told you that at the beginning of the year, that's where I live on the Penfield address. So, this credit report, this file number is tied to this one. What I can do, and as long as the Penfield address is, this is what Maria's saying, as long as the Penfield address is showing on his credit report, I can just go and say, hey, can you do me a favor? Can you update the address to blah, blah, blah. And post a message. So you don't have to call them. Maria said I called them. You don't have to call them. You can do it here. Can you update the address to this one? And automatically it's going to show on their task on the desktop. On the desktop, if I hit desktop, it will show in my credit report, so I don't have any comments. But if I submit this and I say, hey, update the address, it's going to show update the address, and then within minutes, they're going to tell me, hey, it's updated. Now what Maria is saying, it's updated already. But they don't change this report. I have to split it for whatever reason. So I just split it, and it generates another file number. And the other file number is now showing with the correct address, same score, same everything. But I have to split it in order to use it. Even though they told me, okay, Oscar, it's already done. And usually when they tell me, Oscar, it's already done, you can split the file now. So I split the file, then it's going to show the new address. Questions, comments? It happens a lot when you misspell the name. Or when you don't use middle initials, or where the client has two last names. Now, if I just say, hey, let's just see this credit report. So on this credit report, the client is only showing David Garcia, David Garcia. Let's just pretend that David Garcia, his actual name is David E. Garcia Hernandez. So that's the way that I want it on my application. David Garcia, I read the credit because I saw it from his taxes. I never saw his ID. That's what I did. Made a mistake. His actual name is David E. Garcia Hernandez. Now, if I tell the company, hey, can you update the name to this name? Then the company is going to say, well, Oscar, it doesn't show Hernandez here, like Maria said. It doesn't show Hernandez, so if it doesn't show Hernandez, I cannot update the credit report. But, if I tell the credit system, hey, can you please update name to da 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 da, and here's the ID of the client. So I post a message, and once I post the message, I go to this clip, and on this clip it says upload document, and I upload the ID. I upload the ID, they update my name, even though they was not showing on the credit report, and that's what they do.
Question there. Then you also have to split it again to get a new.
I have to split it. The system tells me, and they send me an email also, Oscar, you ready? You can split the file. So I go back to this file, I split it, and it's going to show the right name. But the same credit report with the right name. So I do use this a lot. So Maria is 100% right. If it's not showing on the credit report, they're not going to do it. If it's not showing, if the address that you want is not showing on the credit report, they're not going to do it. But if I provide something and I say, well, here's proof that he lives there, then they will do it. Here's proof that his name is Dawson Malek Jamison Smith. Entonces, if I show his ID, boom. Reds. So, any comments? But I do upload a lot of documents. I do upload a lot of documents. If I'm doing a rescore and I'm doing a rescore with information that I'm providing that this account was paid off, this account was blah, 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 I upload documents here. Last thing I wanted to show you is Juan Rodriguez in the meeting? Juan Rodriguez, are you in Zoom or not? No. So let me see if search. So let's look at this account. The first one, she was late. She was late, but it's a current account. The second one is closed by customer. I'm hitting her with $31. It's a closed account, but you still have a balance and you're paying the $31. Now the third one is a charge-off. If it's a charge-off, I don't care about the past due. It's already a charge-off. Bye. But the last one is another closed account. It's another closed account, but it's still active because she has a balance. And she's paying $42. Actually, I wanted to show you. Give me 1 second. It's San Antonio. Probably not this. If for whatever reason, this account, you cannot have, even though that it's closed, if you have a balance and you're still making payments, if for whatever reason you have a balance, we cannot have any trade lines with past due amounts. We cannot have any trade lines with past due amounts. They are not collections or charge-offs. Collection or charge-offs, they're collection or charge-offs. But if it's an active account that you still owe balance and it's past due, if it's past due, you have to put it in zero. Some clients say, well, I already closed the account. Well, you already closed it, but you're past due, so I cannot have an account past due. Whether it's active in white, or whether, well, it should never be in white because it has a past due amount, but any past due account or an active account or a closed account, it needs to be put at zero. Zero past due. Not zero balance, but zero past due.
Except collections and charge-offs.
Except collections and charge-offs. Collections and charge-offs, they're already collections, they're already charge-offs. Make sense?
How do they see when you have charge-off under that information, but on the other side it says collection?
If it's collection and it's charge-off here, then you tell the underwriter, hey, it's showing that it's a charge-off, take it into account as a charge-off. And most of the times, our underwriters take it as a charge-off. Now, obviously, if Angelo is the one client, they're not going to agree to Angelo because they just want to make him mad. But if anybody that is not Angelo calls and says it's really charge-off, they will take it as a charge-off. Not happen.
I was going to say that's not true, they take it as a charge-off.
Now, there's usually Phil is the one that says, yeah, I'll take it as a charge-off. My experience is that when we had Janet and we had Jen, Janet and Jen didn't take it like that. I had to go to Phil and Phil would override it.
I got an email with an update on medical collections, I don't know if you got it, that they're not going to be reported if it's $500. So I think that's a good thing because it's not going to affect the FICO of that client.
Is that medical collections are
They're
not
not
going
going
to
to be reported anymore if it's less than $500.
Oh, that's right, that's right.
Less than $500?
The last thing that I wanted to show you, or just tell you, with Prezi is the person that makes the disclosures. again, you have to help her. You have to help her. If you have a lead, you can always ask Prissy if she can order the VOE. I run into a lot of loan officers that tell me, hey, help me calculate the income. I say, oh, we're not going to be able to calculate the income this way. The only way to calculate the income is if we have a VOE, or we have the pay stubs of the last 2 years, the ending pay stub. And then they say, well, can you order a VOE? And I go like, me? Me order the VOE? I mean, and I cannot refer you to Adriana, and I cannot refer you to anything because you don't have anything. So if you create the lead, and the only thing that you have to create with the lead is just the information, personal information. So if I just put Dulce, blah, 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 Prissy, can you do me a favor? Can you run the VOE for Dulce? And this is the lead number, and she will run the automatic one. The automatic one. If she doesn't get a hit without the automatic one, then you have to get a reading one. But then now you have to get involved.
Even if we don't have the credit, nothing, just the
Nothing,
information.
nothing.
No, but they do need the information for the employee.
For the employee.
Address.
I do it a lot. There was a client of mine that provided 2 W-2s for 1 year, 2 W-2s for another year. One of the W-2s was working for Walmart. And then in 2023, I was very tight with my ratios. And in 2024, I'm sorry, I said, well, what about this Walmart? I mean, can you give me a pay stub? Well, Walmart pays me this way, and I don't have access to the payroll system, and it's everything automatic, and blah. And you know what? I haven't even worked at Walmart. So just F Walmart. I mean, that's what the client said. I need the income for Walmart. I need the income for Walmart. Prissy, can you run the VOE? Boom, the VOE comes Walmart. The year-to-date income, that's what I use. That's what I use.
Even if he hasn't worked there for a while?
Even though it hasn't worked because it's a part-time job. So as long as it's a part-time job, but as long as I can use some of the income, then I can use some of the income.
En esto tomate is 1 day.
So that income helped me a lot. That income helped me a lot. So in Prissy, obviously, sometimes she's very busy. Sometimes, I mean, she's accessible. It just goes into the lead, runs a process, and provides it. Obviously, every time that we run a VOE, it's going to cost us. It costs the company. I mean, if you don't need to, don't ask. But if you really need to, just go ahead and ask. But create the lead. Create the lead. I mean, even if we don't get any hit on the automatic VOE, if we don't get a hit, then the next step is, well, get me a form so I can take it to the employer. Well, how is Adriana or how is Alex going to get you a form if we don't have a lead? The form is with the information of the lead. So now you have to fill out a lead and everything and the work information so we can get you a form with the VOE and provide it to you. But you need to help processing a little bit, but it's very easy. It's very easy. So when I run into that, I just create my lead, boom, 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 boom. Prissy, can you help me with a VOE on this one? And Prissy does it very fast. A little bit frustrating to me is when you don't have anything and you want us to do a VOE. And like, ugh. Questions, comments? Well, that's it. If there's nothing else. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, sir.